and he's like, I hesitate to use the word convulsing. There was I went to yahoo.com to sort of troll for my news articles.
Sure, as you do.
And one of them I found, I thought, oh, this is perfect. This perfectly encapsulates Big Slice. The headline was, Science shows how a surge of anger could raise heart attack risk. And I thought, oh, that's funny. That's like, we've got someone on our podcast who's angry. Let me read a little bit more into this. So scientists from a few different universities wanted to tease out previous research done that suggests there's a link between an acute episode of anger and an increased risk of heart attack. So, you get real angry once, and that one instance increases your risk of heart attack. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. The people wanted to find out why. To answer that question, they'd need to make some people angry. And I'm like, that explains, that's Big Slice's origin story right there.
Lay it on me.
A scientist plant. What I didn't expect was that the article would sort of trap all of us. So this experiment consisted of 4 groups. There was the angry group, the anxious group, the sad group, and a control group, which just counted out loud for 8 consecutive minutes.
What? Why?
Hold on. So in order for this to be an accurate heart attack study, did any of the people have heart attacks within or without reasonable parameters?
They did not check it wasn't a simple binary heart attack yes/no result. They tested other factors of heart disease risk. So it was like plaque in the arteries. And something that they were really interested in seeing was the constriction of arteries. So I guess when you get mad, your arteries in certain places get smaller. So when you're drunk, your arteries will open up, and that's why it feels warm when you drink alcohol.
Yeah,
I've never experienced this, I'm assuming. It's the opposite when you get angry. I guess your blood vessels constrict on account of all the mad juices flowing through your system.
I wonder if that's why people refer to people who are being kind of like a dick at any moment as they're being cold.
Ooh,
I wonder if that's where that came from.
I like that. Yeah. It's all the blood's flowing out of the rest of your body.
Right, you're physically actually getting cold because your blood vessels are constricting. If the opposite effect is that you get warm, right? I mean, I'm just thinking, I was just kind of...
That's what you do when people like you. You're hot. That makes sense.
What the fuck? But people like me, and I'm angry all the time. I assume everybody likes me. Yeah, especially when I'm flummy.
You know what, Jacob? I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that's actually the real reason why we're here today.
Oh, check this shit out. I don't think you guys are ready for this. Didn't happen. Nothing happened. So ideally, my camera would have expanded. My webcam has this really fun thing it does where it resets to a 0 every time I turn the computer on. Which means every time it's way zoomed out, so I look like this half the time.
Excellent.
So I need to both expand it such that I get bigger on the screen, and also I need to move it to one side, or else it never fucking sees me correctly. It's a whole thing. I don't like it.
Interesting.
Technology,
so I had to raise
when it
my
comes
seat
to streaming or recording anything online, just tends to be really annoying. So that doesn't shock me at all. What I want to know is...
go ahead. The great part is it's always annoying in different ways. It's never I figured out the algorithm. I do this, and then this, and then this, and then it works. The algorithm will work for maybe a month or one update cycle, and then they go, listen, everyone, we are fixing our hardware, our software, and everything changes, and sometimes it gets a little better, and sometimes it gets a lot worse.
Yeah.
So you got to keep on top of it.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Anyway.
So what I want to know, because so I would say there are 2 really frustrating parts about being a content creator in general, and the rest of it is just kind of great. One of them is just that people are assholes, right? That's just there are a lot of really dumb people out in the world, and they suck. that's just kind of unavoidable. But the second one is just having to deal with the fucking technology that makes all of this shit work. And I just want to say, despite all of that, and the fact that I did it in about 30 seconds, I feel like the stream doesn't look too bad today.
It looks good.
Speaking of which, hi, hello. This is Hardly Serious episode 49, I think. I think there's 47 online, and then we recorded one like 6 months ago that hasn't gotten released.
I'd believe it.
So I think this is episode 49, also known as season 3, episode 1, of course. As always, I'm your host, Kenway.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Logan.
And man, I am suddenly worried about Jacob having a heart attack. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have seen an episode of this show before, but that boy's angry.
There is no fucking shot that this is new information to anybody, that being angry constantly it puts you at greater risk of heart attack. Is that not like the fucking every media when the person has a heart attack, it's because they're really angry? Or it's just an absolutely sudden thing that nobody could have seen coming?
I thought the general scientific consensus prior to this very in-depth, hard-hitting article research that I found was that it was like long-term stress was the precursor indicator of heart disease.
But
so
look,
if that's the case,
if the only metric they're testing on is all the blood vessels get more constricted or more open, then Logan would have had like 8 or 9 heart attacks in his left fucking hand by now.
100. My left hand's heart would have stopped long ago, specifically in my ring finger and my pinky finger.
Fucking give me $5. I'll conduct the exact same study with vastly more rigorously tested results.
So maybe that's what it is. So for those of you who don't know, because this is a very inside joke, my left hand, when it gets cold, these 2 fingers will completely lose all the blood inside of them. And I'm not talking like, oh, my fingers go numb. I'm like, these 2 look like normal fingers, and these 2 fingers are like pale yellow because there is no blood inside of them anymore.
That seems terrible. Have you seen someone about that?
No. I mean, like, why? The blood always comes back, so I mean, it doesn't
always comes back eventually.
Well, the other part is I've sort of abandoned trying to have a doctor figure out what's wrong with anything about my fucking body. In particular, recently as in like 4 years ago, I started getting like hives all over my hands in the wintertime. And I'm like, I wonder what the fuck this is about. Ignored it for like 2 years, and it would go in a cycle. Once the weather got cold, the hands would be shitty. Once the weather got warm, the hands were back to normal again. Couldn't figure it out. After like 3 years of this pattern in like 2020, we were like, let's go actually see a doctor about this. Went to see a doctor, and they're like, yeah, it's probably allergies. If you want to go see an allergist, you'll first need to see a dermatologist. No, sorry, it was the other way around. If you want to see a dermatologist to figure out what's wrong with the skin, go to an allergist first, because the first suspicion is allergies anyway. So I'm like, fucking okay, I'll go to an allergist. Go to an allergist. They give you like the checkerboard of shots where they put like the 16 needles in like a grid and they push that into your back. Each one has like some allergen.
I've done that before, and boy howdy, for me that wasn't fun. But go on.
Yep. Yeah. The result that I got was like, okay, so you're allergic to everything we just gave you to some extent. It only matters about how severe the allergic reaction was. So like our big takeaways are like 3rd place, you're allergic to cats. 2nd place, you're allergic to like some weird kind of like everything green that lives outside. You're allergic to that to some extent. And also olive trees. Holy fuck, you were allergic as shit to olive trees. Like, the one we gave you, that's just like a general histamine that fucking makes the body have an allergic reaction, that one barely reacted more powerfully than the one to olive tree pollen. So they're like, I mean, I guess you just fucking stay away from olive trees. And so I asked him, okay, so it is a concrete fact that my hands get better when the weather gets warm. So do olive trees only make pollen when the weather's cold? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, I understand. Maybe you're not a fucking arborist. Maybe you're not a botanist. That's fine. So why is it
next stop the olivologist?
You would have thought that at least that like when they got the test back, that there would have been some kind of pop-up in their paperwork that was like, hey, so olive trees fucking suck for this guy. Here's 3 fun facts about olive trees so that you can seem like not a fucking idiot when you go back to your patient. Nope, he's just like,
No, it was all in the same visit. Like, the doctor, I think, left the room to go tend to another patient and then came back and was, like, looked at the
Right,
results that the nurse had, like, tabulated off to the side.
But to Kenley's point, they have the standard array battery of like the 16 tests or whatever.
Right.
And one of them's olive trees.
But I would assume they would have a little cheat sheet in their little manila folder that they have in your file to be like, okay, olive trees, and they go to the file where it has little pieces of information
Right.
about olive trees, where it's like, oh, if he says it's bad in the winter, that's probably not olive trees because they don't produce the pollen during
Right.
the winter.
Or
I would
even
assume.
even just like, oh hey, subject is allergic to grapes. Recommend not drinking grape juice. Like it's like something.
Right.
There should have been something on that sheet when you got the results. Now,
So even better. So
okay.
he gives me that. Yeah, I'm not finished, by the way.
Yeah, story's not even close to being done.
I finished that, and I asked
Oh,
him,
then
okay,
if we're not even close, then let me just interject this one thing real quick before we get too far away from it. So I had that panel test done when I was, I want to guess maybe like 12, like it was a while ago.
Okay.
And it was because I had like hay fever allergies really bad when I was a child. And then as I was getting older, they were getting like infinitely worse. So we went in to go see an allergist, and they were like, hey, we're going to show you. It's a 4-panel test. And he like gets out these giant, the giant panels
Like the
that have
box
the little
full of
prick.
the-
Yeah. And they all have the little needles on the end, which terrifies the piss out of me. Cause I had my needle phobia used to be so much worse than it is now. It was bad when I was younger.
Yeah,
And
I bet.
so I lay down on my stomach, and they come over and just stab these things into your back. And he leaves for 15, 20 minutes, whatever comes back. And when he came back, he looks at, his eyes get like a little bit bigger, and he looks at me, and I'm like, oh, that can't be good. And,
it's really good.
you know,
It's messed up.
the first panel, you know, is like, I think it was like a meats and stuff. So it's got like all the fish and like the and nuts and like all that crap that's kind of normal for food.
Quarter pounder.
Yeah, of course. And the second one was like, you know, like all of the like weird like dairies and kind of like other natural compounds that people are commonly allergic to. I think the third one was kind of like miscellaneous other shit that doesn't match with the first two.
Right.
And then the fourth one was everything that could be outside that
Yeah,
might
plants.
make you, it might make you somewhat allergic. And he said I had such a bad reaction to the fourth panel that he couldn't actually see the individual pricks anymore. Like the whole thing just swelled up, and he was like, yeah, maybe don't go outside.
Or so this story seems
On his
inconclusive.
chart, instead of like words, he just puts the emoji that's like,
It's conceivable though, since he couldn't differentiate one bump from another. Maybe it was you were super ultra turbo allergic to one of them to like an insane degree, and the rest of them were totally fine.
Totally
Like,
fine.
It was one giant.
I wonder if it was
allergy bump.
olive trees.
It might have been olive trees.
I think it
yeah.
was. And then the worst fucking part about that for me is I asked the guy, oh, so why is it that it's just now a problem? Because for the last, 21 years of my life, I haven't had a problem with olive tree pollen. Like, why am I just now allergic to olive trees? And he goes, well, there's a difference between being allergic to something and being sensitized to something.
Okay.
And I'm like, he stopped talking after that, and I expected him to continue. And I'm like, okay, so I understand I got that wrong. So I'm sensitized to olive tree pollen right now, among other things. And he goes, yes, that's correct. I'm like, so why am I just now becoming sensitized to olive tree pollen? And he goes, you see, there's a big difference between being allergic to something and being sensitized to something. And I said, yeah, I understand.
I keep
that. I'm
hoping you're
trying
gonna
be-
finish that sentence. Like, it's...
Yeah, I'm trying to be respectful here, but like, why? I think you understand my meaning. My meaning is, why is it just now becoming a problem in my
Right.
life? And he's like, okay, nurse, if you could prep the patient for, and I'm like, okay, I guess we're fucking done here. Like, I never got a satisfactory answer about why suddenly, out of fucking nowhere, I suspect it's because I'm allergic to cats. And for some reason, the only manifestation of that is my hands and occasionally like the insides of my arms and my legs will break out in like rashy hives.
That's so strange.
No sniffling, no sneezing, no runny eyes, fucked up hands.
I always wondered because like you've been to my home many a time, and we have many cats. And
Your
not
house-
once have you ever said anything to me about being allergic to cats or having a
we
hard
didn't
time
know.
or like, yeah,
Your
it's
house
wild.
your house was in the past the refuge to which I would go and not be allergic.
Yeah.
Or reactive or sensitized or fucking whatever anymore to the fucking miasma that constantly bombards upon me.
Yeah.
At first I thought it was like, am I allergic to the dust which comes off of my own body? Because like whenever I was not sleeping in my own bed, the allergies would get better. With all of the data that I had, that was a legitimate conclusion that I arrived at. And it was still my leading hypothesis before I moved into a place with a roommate who had cats. And for the first like 4 months I was there, no problem. I moved there in March. And
This was for Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I moved there in March. By August, I started getting like tiny little somethings. And I'm like, the weather's not cold enough for this to be happening right now.
Yeah.
And it just never stopped until I left.
Fascinating.
And he had cats.
do like
so I
the fact-
hypothesize it just like took a while. Like the exponential growth of me being allergic started slowly and then really took off towards the end.
But I think it's funny though when you moved into the new place, your body's like, get them dirty felines out of here. And then like 4 months later, it's like, oh, is that a cat? Bleep, bleep, bleep. Kill the hands.
That's
Maybe it's
oh
like
my
an
God.
evolutionary thing where it's like how trees in fall they shed leaves so that they keep all of like the vital nutrients to more vital areas of the tree. It's like let's fucking siphon off a few leaves,
Yeah.
not doing anything for us anyway. That's like the furthest thing away from the heart. That's what we jettison that first.
All right, we got to keep the heart, the lungs, the liver, all the and the head. We can't really get by, without anything north of the shoulders. All right, what can we ditch? The feet? We use those to walk.
He used
Booty?
those to walk.
Nah, it's too close. Hands? What do you need hands for? I'm the heart. I
whatever.
don't need the hands.
know,
It's
those
such
are
a pain
extra.
to pump all the blood out there and then get it all back. Just get rid of them.
They got so much nerves out there. Do you have any idea how much calcium is required for those neurons to fire? Fuck them.
At least 5.
So I have a new theory for you that I'd like to posit.
I'm all about it.
What if the blood is exiting Logan's hands and finding its way into yours?
That would be good for me.
I don't know. With my blood,
bad
I don't know.
blood?
It seems like a
Yeah,
negative.
your
And-
body's like, ew, Logan blood. I don't need this.
And
I got rid of this 28 years
ago.
ago.
No,
And it would make really
allergies.
deep cuts.
Allergies are a strange thing because I mentioned earlier that I had the allergy panel test when I was younger, and it was because they were just getting so abhorrently bad. And there was a few years in there that I was having to go in like right around when fall was starting to come in, and I had to get like a steroid shot injection. And like I'd usually get like 2 a season because it was just so bad, and that was the only way we could get me done with it.
You only
And
need
then
2 per
I
season?
got a little. Well, they'd be because I would be the worst from kind of like the beginning of August usually until whenever the first frost came. Because whenever the first frost would come, it would like
And it killed everything.
It would banish all the pollen and shit out of the air. So that was
Banish
like
the fucking
really.
Gandalf the Grey.
You shall not exist.
You shall not itch.
There it is. So it's really only like 12 or so weeks, 12 to 14 weeks that I would get like terrible. So I'd go in, get one, 6 to 7 weeks later, I'd come back, get another one. And I did that for a few years. Then all at once, just stopped.
Wow.
Just went away. I just stopped having issues altogether 1 year. And then like 10 years went by and I was totally fine. And now suddenly I'm lactose intolerant.
Well,
Dog.
Kenway,
The lactose intolerance thing really sneaks up on you.
here's something I need you to understand. There's a very big difference between being allergic to something and being sensitized to something.
Right. Yeah.
So, it makes total sense, if you think about it. Why you're now allergic and sensitized to some other shit again.
Oh my God.
But, going back to, speaking of the steroids thing, they gave me like a topical cream that I could just like, a lotion that I could spread onto my hands. And they're like, once a day until the shit stops, until your hands are better.
All right.
Okay, I will do that. Come back and see me in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, every day for 2 weeks I put the stuff on my hands. My hands were 100% better. I'm like, this stuff is magic. At the 2 weeks go by and I tell him this. And he's like, all right, sweet, I'm glad that worked. Here's now a different lotion. Now that your hands are good, use this lotion and you can sort of maintain because we don't want to use the steroids for
Right.
like a long-term solution. I'm going to get back to that, by the way. Like, okay, come back and see me in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. I used the new lotion every day for the 2 weeks, and my hands went to shit like immediately. There was no grace period. And I came back and I'm like, I did exactly what you said. I used the new
You're like,
lotion
Doc,
for 2 weeks.
Doc, I need the original lotion back, Doc.
It was just hands. It was just on the hands. I cannot express enough how much it was localized to the hands and to like here underneath, like on the fleshy part of the bicep.
But your doctor's like a crack dealer. It's like they give you the good stuff to get you hooked, and then they give you like the.
But then they're
toenail
like,
clippings or whatever.
You didn't use it as I told you, did you? And I'm like, fucking dog.
And you were like, listen, doctor, there's a difference between being allergic to something and being sensitive.
Right, like, I honestly, I'm going to be 100% here in a way I probably shouldn't on Twitch where we're recording this. I would have committed, like, some of the lower grade felonies if it meant my hands actually went back to how they were. So the fact that this fucking doctor is like, he must not have been doing what we told him to. After the fucking years of orthodontistry that Logan and I did, dealing with the same fucking bullshit.
Dude.
About people just not believing it when we say we're gonna do shit.
Both of you telling me when I first got my braces about like the horrors that you went through when you had them, like it helped me in so many ways because every time my orthodontist would tell me something, I'd look at him and be like, "Tell me more about that." Like what's the end goal? Why are we doing that? Like I could feel them sensing like my eyes squinting. Like, why don't you tell me more about why you'd like to make that decision with my teeth today?
Man, dude, the orthodontist. So again, for those of you who don't know, I think Jake, how long did you have braces? It was like
2005 until 2010.
That's it?
Yeah, it was a lot shorter than you.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck. I had braces for like 8.5 or 9 years.
I think I'm about 4 years out right now. I think.
I hope you're more than halfway done.
I hope you're almost done.
Well,
5 days away.
I think we're about at a point where I'm just going to have to accept this is about as good as they're going to get.
I know how that feels.
Which is sad for a few reasons, but currently my biggest problem is just that I'm supposed to be wearing rubber bands and I'm not.
Okay. You're the fucking problem.
Which is only, to be fair, only been for about the last 8 weeks or so. And that's really just a brain thing I'm struggling with.
So for those of you who don't know, who've never had braces or known someone who has braces, they will have some, they're called brackets, the things that like actually they shove onto your teeth.
Yeah.
Some of the brackets will have a tiny little nub on it. So here's the bracket with the little nub on it, like where you can hook.
Which will just destroy the inside of your mouth too, by the way. It's just the worst.
They rip your lips to shreds. There'd be some days, like I'm a side sleeper too, and right at the back molar is the big honkin' chonker that they attach the wire to.
Yep.
That goes through all the brackets, and that's what like aligns the teeth and holds all that crap in there. I'm a side sleeper, so every now and then I'd wake up and I'm like, "Yep, there's just a hole in the side of my mouth now for the next week."
Yep. And now I'm bleeding.
The rubber bands thing. So a couple of them,
and you have to go through this every like 5 weeks because after a couple of weeks, you're like everything kind of starts to settle in. Like the inside of your mouth starts to like heal and rebuild, and it gets used to getting rubbed all day. And then you go back 5 weeks later, and they put a new wire in, and you have to go through the whole thing over and over and over again.
Well, every now and then, it's not a new wire every time. Sometimes they simply tighten the wire that's in there, so they'll like shove the wire a little bit farther back, which will shove all your teeth farther out of place.
Fascinating. I was told that was like a misnomer, so that's interesting to hear that.
I don't think I have very specific memories of they would take the wire out sometimes, and I'd rub my tongue over my teeth, and I'd be like, "Whoa, this feels way different without the wire there." Because with the wire there, it feels a lot more like a flush surface. Without the wire, it's like there's a bracket and there's a bracket and there's the gap in the middle. And sometimes they wouldn't do that. They would just take the wire, and it felt like they would shove it farther back. And they had these little tin snips where the wire would poke out through the back of the little holder at the back, and they just cut that off.
Yep.
So it might be a misnomer.
Sucks.
Maybe I've just been lied to. It has been quite a while.
Anyway,
in either case, you have to go through that every 5 weeks.
About every 5 weeks, yeah, because that's what actually moves the teeth around.
Back to
with
us.
the rubber bands,
My biggest fucking complaint with the whole rubber bands thing is we go in there one day and they're like, "You need rubber bands." They fucking soldered on the weird bracket with the antenna on it. Like
Yep.
2 on the top and 2 on the bottom on each side.
Which I've had the whole time, by the way. I had to start dealing with that bullshit from day one.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so we're giving you these tiny little bag of rubber bands. They're like diabolical. Like they barely fucking stretch at all. And they're like less than the size of like a fucking SpaghettiO. They're like, okay.
Yes.
So on each side, it goes over the 2 antennas on top and the 1 on the bottom. And when you're eating, they don't need to be in. And when you're brushing your teeth, they don't need to be in. At all other times of the day, they must be in your mouth exactly in that position.
Kenway's holding up a rubber band. You can't. The camera will not focus on it.
It's so
on account of how
small.
small it is.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, it's tiny. That is
It's
it.
minuscule. That's the thing.
That is the thing. And like it will snap before it stretches very far.
That's about as far as it goes,
But
naturally.
they're pretty diabolical. Like they're so tiny you can hardly open your mouth. I'm not going to do that anymore. You can't open your mouth very hard. And they tell you to wear them at all times. When you're eating, they don't need to be in. When you're when you're brushing your teeth, they don't need to be in.
Yeah.
When you're awake, when you're asleep, when you're doing a podcast, the rubber bands are in. And Logan and I were like, sweet, we will do that.
I got you. So
And we did it.
We'd wear them. We'd take them out to eat, put them back in, take them out to brush our teeth, put them back in, go to sleep, wake up, repeat the whole process. Come back like the 2 weeks later, the 1 month later, however long it was.
I think it was like 6 weeks.
I don't remember.
It was long enough. Yeah. It was
the
long.
point of these rubber bands is, from what I understand, is to like manipulate your jaw and bring your teeth in differently. So like
so for me, my
line.
problem is that my top teeth especially are off center now because we had to remove some teeth on one side of my mouth because I just had way too many, not enough space for them. And then because of that, when we pulled them all together, my teeth on top just naturally shifted to one side. And so now to bring them, try to bring them back center, I have to put rubber bands on the brackets to yank them all in the direction that they're supposed to go. The problem is that I have a whole lot of brain shit going on that not only makes that difficult for me to remember and think about it, even when I do remember and think about it, it makes it very difficult to do. And the fact that it's not like, if it was something that I could just wake up, put in, leave in all day, and then take out at night or whatever, like that I could handle. Like I don't think I'm gonna have a problem when it comes to like retainer, right? When I have to wear a retainer for however long that has to be, that I think I'll be able to handle because it's mostly just gonna be like just chucking in and out. But I have 4 fucking rubber bands that I have to like MacGyver in and out of my mouth, and then I have to do it like 4 or 5 times a day because they start wearing out as you talk, and once they start wearing out, they're not fucking working anymore. So it's pointless to have them in, meaning I have to swap them, and my brain was not made for that kind of a personal care task.
You want to hear some bad news?
Our orthodontists.
Kenway, you want to hear some bad news? Is that our brains aren't meant for it either, in the complete opposite way. Because we did it every single second that they told us to do it. We'd come back afterwards, and they'd be like, whoa, you wore them way too long. Now we have to put them in, but backwards to move it back in the other direction. That is correct. The first time that it happened, I thought, okay, that's reasonable. I assume most people don't follow the instructions to the letter like Big Slice and Little Fudge.
But now that they know that Big Slice and Little Fudge do it all the time as directed, certainly we just need to recorrect once and then we're good to go.
We'll be good to go. So they tell us the same thing. They're like, if you're eating or brushing your teeth, you don't need them. At all other times, you put them in. But in the opposite direction. We're like, all right, cool. 6 weeks later, we did that, followed it to the letter, come back, and they're like, whoa, they way overcorrected again. And I'm like, didn't they do that last time? And you told us to do like the same thing? I don't understand why Big Slice and I didn't just go like, oh yeah, doc, yep, every single second if we're not eating or brushing our teeth, yeah. And then afterwards go like, hey, so we're only doing it for like half the time, right? So we don't way overdo it. I don't know why we didn't do that. We definitely should have, and I don't
Why did they not give you adjusted expectations?
I don't know.
Like, well, you'd think they would have done. We needed to make 4 different trips of this, and I think by the last one it was like, was that when our roots were too short to do anything, or did they just give up?
I think so. Eventually, we did it. Our teeth kept moving back and forth because of the rubber bands, and eventually, this might be unrelated. It might be slightly related to the former issue. Our roots of our teeth are now so short. Orthodontists and dentists are worried that doing too much mouth work on us will make our healthy teeth completely fall out.
Yes, correct. So,
so fucked up.
the last 2 times I've had to take X-rays of my teeth. I went to the dentist, and every other trip they take X-rays. Is I guess the fucking schedule for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll go like twice a year, and on one visit they'll take X-rays. Then no
Oh, yeah,
X-rays.
yeah.
Then X-rays again the next.
Yeah.
Day.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I have to go so fucking often that like the idea of going of having that happen every other time that you went was like, what the fuck are you on?
Oh,
but it's because I have to be there every 5 minutes or every 5 weeks for my braces, and then also I'm on a heightened cleaning schedule because my teeth are just bad and
Yeah, different.
Right.
I have braces,
deal.
so they get dirty faster.
Yeah. So every time I go to get X-rays at this new dentist that we've been going to for like 3 or 4 years, something like that. At the time, it was like 3 or 4 years, and every time they had to do X-rays. Okay, we're gonna start with the molars on the right on top.
Yep.
Take the pictures. Molars on the right on bottom. Take the pictures. Front teeth.
Which is also
on top.
so fucking uncomfortable because they shove this giant bite
Yeah.
block into your mouth and then they just jam it around in different directions. Like, hey, can you just open it, not close? Wait, no, open a little bit. Now, could you open this side of your mouth a little bit, but then close this end?
Can you open your mouth like this?
Yeah, right.
Hey, thanks.
Like your Pac-Man.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we get to the front teeth, and they take the picture, and they come back, and they look at it, and every single time without fail, they go back without having me change anything. Go back, take the X-rays again, come back in, look at it. Oh, and I'm like, and I like take the thing out. I'm like, well, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And they're like, yeah. So I thought the X-ray machine wasn't working. It turns out the X-ray machine is working. It's just the roots on your teeth are so short. I thought it took a picture of nothing, which I mean it kind of did because your teeth have no roots.
Yeah, you just
that is a true story. That has happened to me multiple times.
So
It's just
interesting.
even
That's
to this
insane.
day, this tooth is still like the tiniest little bit loose. I can still wiggle it just like a tiny little bit.
And they don't have. There's nothing they can do about that.
What are they gonna do? Surgically implant roots onto my teeth?
And
I don't know,
I'm
man, it's
lactose
2024.
intolerant, so I can't even get the freaking calcium I need to make
that's
them
right.
get bigger and jam up there. It sucks. I hate
And
it.
even better, if they ever needed to like give us an injection to like numb the site, we'd pass out from that anyway.
Oh my gosh, that happened to me.
What?
Did I ever tell this story on the podcast?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Okay, so Kenley
Which
alluded
time?
earlier at the fact that that he had
Needle
a
phobia.
phobia of needles in the past.
Yeah. Oh,
And it
I
has
still
since
do.
gotten
It's just
better.
much better. It's
Mine.
it's good enough. I can stab myself now if I need to. I've had to do some home injection stuff for some things over the years, and I can now do that. That
Like
was a
cocaine?
struggle. No. I know that sounds sus. I swear to God, I had a legitimate prescription for something I had to do for a few months, and it required me
That's fair.
stabbing myself in the leg every 2 weeks with a needle, and that was rough. It's clearly not steroids because I'm still fucking huge. So,
I was on steroids for like a year. Didn't do anything.
Jake, but your
unfuck my
hands are
hands.
jacked.
Oh, dude, no doubt.
Get that finger strength, baby.
That's what's helped me in Destiny.
Yeah. There was a stretch of like the first part of my life, I simply did not like needles, but I lived with them. They'd give me the shot, I'd cry a little bit, I'd go home. I was a child.
yeah.
At some point, we were
You're
at
like
the
9
doctor's.
years old.
I'm waving my HIPAA or whatever it is rights at this point. We were at the doctor's office, and we had our yearly checkups where they'd give you the finger prick. They'd take like a half a drop of blood from one finger, and they do a TB
Tuberculosis.
test where they would inject something under your skin, and it would form a little bubble.
Right.
And they'd be like, yeah, come back in 2 days so we can check to see what's going on with that TB test. I think it's like if it became inflamed and red, you'd have tuberculosis.
If the bubble goes away, you're fine. If the
Right,
bubble
yes.
remains or if it gets anything, come back.
So they give us those. I hesitate to even call them injections, but they do that every year, once a year. One time that happened, and like our mom is at the front paying or getting
I was
insurance
with her.
settled out or
You
something.
were in the
We were
waiting room.
both with her.
Oh, interesting.
Like she had taken us out of the examination room.
I
and
don't
up
really
to the
remember
front
this
to
for
pay.
reasons which will
I
become
do.
obvious momentarily.
Oh no.
So she's getting there to pay, and at this point, Jacob and I were small children, so we probably barely came up to her hip. We were what, 8 years old,
8 or 9. And
we
we
were
were
like,
often the shortest people in our school for the grade.
yeah, we were minuscule.
like just about every time.
So we're like standing there, and our mom's doing her. You know, in like in the cartoons where like the kids would come up to like the parents' knees. That was kind of us. So it was easy to like not see what we were doing because the adults are giants towering over these little dwarfs. And Jake sort of started thinking around where he was like doing something on the ground and like being a little munchkin gremlin down there. And even me at his same height, I was like, yeah, well, Jake's doing something weird, but he's big slice, so you know he's always doing something weird. And our mom looks over and she's like, Jake, can you quit doing that? Jake? And he's like, I hesitate to use the word convulsing, but it was physical spasms.
So just real quick, I don't know if you saw the weird look on my face a second ago. Suddenly, all my audio devices just freaked out, and I couldn't hear anything anymore. Which also, our recording software said that it started a new audio track for me. So that's probably it's probably annoying.
That's probably fine.
But the story from my point of view went like this. So we went to the doctor's office. And then I came back to, so I wouldn't use the word convulsing. I heard nothing in between those two things.
You didn't miss a whole lot of it. We were at the doctor's office. Our mom had taken us out of like the pediatrician. What do you call a young person's doctor? Pediatrician's office. Like went down the hall to like settle up and pay for the visit.
Sure.
Or get insurance settled out or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever paperwork they have to do. Pay your copay.
Whatever adults do,
like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was 9.
It was, I don't know, I don't feel like an adult. So it was like our mom in the middle doing the paying, and then me and Big Slice sort of flanking her on each side. And Big Slice is over there sort of on the ground. I don't know if I'd say like writhing or convulsing, but he had like some kind of extremity movement that was atypical of such
My
a
mother
child.
has since and often, when bringing this up, described it as playing the air violin. So I suppose it was a maneuver similar to this.
Air violin.
No, that's conducting, you dumbass. Violin is like this. I believe it. That doesn't seem too far off. And our mother goes to like DEFCON 0 immediately. She's like,
of course.
My child is dying. You, Logan, the one who's not currently playing the air violin.
You,
go sit
Logan,
in
the one who's
waiting
not
room.
dying.
Yeah. And I'm like, gotcha. So I went to the waiting room by myself, which miraculously was now vacated of other human beings. So I'm like, all right,
Excellent.
I'm just gonna chill here and wait for the excitement to be over. I'm getting a little bit thirsty over here. Getting a little bit lightheaded. And I wake up.
Oh no.
I am like I am completely laying on the ground of the waiting room. And I'm like, that was a bit odd. Let's see if the commotion is all settled. The waiting room still totally vacated. So everyone's paying attention to this little twerp while I almost died. And ever since then, when I get an injection, there's about a 90% chance I will pass out.
Yeah, that's fair.
This was
that makes perfect sense.
But not to fear. I don't attribute it to being afraid.
Oh no.
simply
I just
like
that
a
makes
physical bodily
absolutely
response.
perfect sense that would happen to you, the way that the brain works.
The worst! The universe fucking knows this as well, because one day we're in the doctor's office and I didn't pass out for like the first fucking time ever. Didn't pass out. I'm like, oh great. We had something else to do at like the medical facility where Logan and I went to, like, it was a big like campus basically of like medical practitioners. We had to go somewhere else to do something unrelated. And like, I felt the room start to shake and I'm like, fuck, I'm going down. It was an earthquake that had struck fucking like the exact amount of time after the fucking first time in years where I hadn't passed out getting an injection.
Holy shit.
That rules.
God. Fuck you, God. Fucking Poseidon, king of earthquakes.
Since we're on this one, have I ever? I know I've talked to you guys about it. Have I ever told the story on the podcast about when I got my wisdom teeth removed?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
I don't think on the podcast.
I don't even remember it. So this will be new to me.
Okay,
I think I remember this, and I think you were like our mother in this way as well.
So often people ask me why I don't drink more than I do.
Okay.
And for most of my life, that was because I was straight edge. And for the most part, I still like believe in a lot of that, right? I think
Alcohol's expensive.
Well, I think a lot of people
reason.
misunderstand kind of the idea behind it all, but like at the end of the day, it's just about being in control of your body and your mind, right? Like, that's kind of the core concept.
Dog, I'm not in control of my
and
mind
spite.
anyway, and my body probably doesn't like me that much.
Well, you're not
I
gonna
don't
be-
need to give that fucker any incentive, dude.
You're not going to be in control of your heart at this rate. I mean,
Yeah, no
Christ
kidding.
alive.
So I do drink alcohol now, but I don't really get drunk, and that's for two reasons.
Hot.
Just not really that fun. Honestly, I would say I've been drunk one time in my life, which was on purpose because of this story that I'm about to tell. We wanted to see how much alcohol it would take.
I should think so.
And
Not on purpose. That'd be a crime.
oh no, I just mean like I
Whoops,
very
this
much
isn't
was
water.
like, I'm going to get drunk tonight. We're going to see what that
We're-
takes.
We're finding the
Uh,
upper limit. We're making
And
no clauses.
otherwise, I just like to like I'll if my friends are gonna have a beer, I'll have a beer. Or like if we go somewhere they've got like a cool draft cider, I'm gonna drink the cool draft cider because that shit's delicious. But I'm gonna have like one, maybe two, and then call it a day. But the other reason is because my body has the tolerance level of a 600-pound man, probably or more. What did you say the other day? You said I rolled a 20 on my Constitution score.
Oh yeah, you've got like a 60 constitution. I mean, my God, Christ alive. My God, that's game.
So all of that is because of the story. So this was probably, I'm gonna guess, about 8 years ago, and I had just started seeing a new girl who is not Beans. This is before her time. But I want to say maybe within like the day or maybe 2 days that this happened, we had just been like, hey, I think I'm not going to date other people, and maybe like you could also not date other people, right? Like this is very new.
It's a big step.
Very new, very fresh. And so I for several years I was having this trouble with my teeth in my mouth, but I didn't have insurance, and I made like $9 an hour killing myself in a fucking automotive factory. And I would just have this issue where like sometimes I would be like eating food and I would just bite down in a particular way, and suddenly some pain in back here in my mouth would just happen, and it would essentially disable me for like an hour because it was so bad. And this happened at work once. So I'm out in the factory floor, and I about hit the fucking deck on the ground because I'm suddenly just writhing in pain. I was just like chewing on some bubble gum or something.
Air violin.
And I'm just like all of a sudden really bad. So they kind of helped me walk over to the side of the room where I sit down, and my boss is like, look, man, you just passed out on the floor. I almost passed out on the floor. Like, I have to send you to the ready meds. Like, you have to go see a doctor. And I was like, okay, I'll go. It's fine. And so I go down in there and I check in, and they're like, oh, well, the problem is that there's a giant chunk of your tooth missing. Like, it's just gone. And
That's not ideal.
Mind you, I've been dealing with this off and on for literal years at this point. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I like looked at my mouth before, and I don't think it was completely the case for a long time. But the issue at its core was that there was an exposed nerve in my mouth for like a long time. And I would sometimes bite down on it with food, and it would get like into the tooth right there. And then I would just be screaming in pain until it got dislodged and everything went through.
Right. It's weird that would happen so infrequently.
I got
My
really
mind,
good
it's
at
like-
eating around it. Yeah. It was a very intentional
Like a
change.
conscious effort.
Yeah, it was a conscious effort. And so I go in, and they're like, yeah, so we're pretty sure it's one of your wisdom teeth, and it's half missing, and there's like nerves and stuff exposed. You need to take care of this, or this is going to get worse. Like, this problem is not going to get any better for you. And and so I go see a dentist the next day, and they get in, and he says, open your mouth. Like, literally, he's just walked into the room. Open your mouth. Let me see what the problem is. And I do so, and he looks at it, and he all but should have just been like, oh shit. Like,
He looks at it and is like, what the
look on his
fuck?
face was just like, oh, this is a problem.
Yeah.
So he says, hey, so we need to take your wisdom teeth out, like, now.
You got 3.5 of them.
Obviously,
Right now.
Gotta go.
right now can't happen, but we've got an opening tomorrow at 7 a.m. You need to be there. I can't make you do it. You need to be there. And I should add, there's actually like probably like a solid 6 to 8 months between when I went and saw that first, or when I had the problem at work the first time, and when I actually went and saw a dentist because it got really bad. There was actually 2 different jobs. I'm conflating the 2 things a little bit.
Okay.
But he's like, so he says, hey, you need to come in here tomorrow at 7 a.m. So I book the appointment, and I call this poor woman who has only really just started dating me. We haven't known each other for all that long. And I said, hey, I need a ride to the dentist tomorrow, and I don't know anybody else that can take me at 7 o'clock in the morning. Could you do this? And she does, because she's a sweetheart, right? And so I go in the next day. And it's I get in there. I think we had to check in at like 6:30 or something goofy in the morning. And then I fill out all the paperwork. We take me back, and they said I had paid for both laughing gas and also like the sedative that completely knocks you out.
Completely unconscious.
Yeah, because I
the laughing gas for the doctors to share around, like, taking the
right.
guy.
Well, so I haven't had some pretty like deep rooted dental trauma from when I was a child. And yeah,
You know he's not us.
So I was like, whatever you'll give me, I need. Like if you'll knock me out, I need to be gone. And they were like, hey, how about like would it also help if you had some laughing gas to like bring you down before you knocked out? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. If you'll give it to me, I'll take it.
Give me the mallet to the head.
Yeah.
Chuck it all in there.
And so I get in there, they put me on the gas, and they hook me up to an IV, and they said, just take deep breaths in and out, and that'll start to make you feel loopy. In like 10, maybe 15 minutes, you should either feel real great or be very gone, right? Like I'm expecting to come back in 15 minutes and have you knocked the fuck out. So I said, all right. So they put the laughing gas on me, and they turn the machine on that's hooked up to my IV, and they say, see you in 10, 15 minutes. So they leave, and they come back, and they're like, how you doing? And I looked at them and I said, great.
Ooh,
and the doctor kind of looks at me, and he tilts his head a little bit, and he's like,
very talkative corpse.
That's weird. So he comes over, and he looks at the machine, looks at a couple machines things on the machine, and then turns up the knob which that's on the front, and I see a little number go up. So I'm assuming he's upped my dose, right?
Uh-huh.
And he says, we're gonna try that. I'm gonna give you another 10 minutes or so, and I'll be back to check in on you. I said, okay, doc, sounds great. So I'm sitting there doing my thing, deep breaths in with the laughing gas. He comes back another 10 minutes later. He said, how you feeling? And I looked at him, and I was like, I'm starting to get a little high at this point, but I'm very much like, I could do math problems if he needed me to. I'm conscious. And he goes, well, that's no good. So he comes over, and he starts digging underneath the table, throws some pills into a little Dixie cup, and says, here, take these, and just shoves them down my throat. I need to, I'm embellishing. There's nothing. This is 100% accurate. Actually, what happened to me.
So he puts like something out of his pocket, and he just sort of shoves it down.
And just whoop, down it goes. That finally, whatever that was, that finally did it. It knocked me out. I woke up 6 times during surgery, and I remember waking up every single one of those fucking times. I got conscious to the point of like, I remember coming to and being like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, and hearing the doctor be like, uh-oh.
Quick, give him a couple of pills and another drink.
So obviously, I don't know what I have no idea what's happening at this point. I just remember starting to come to, and I definitely opened my eyes at one point, because I remember like doing such and being like, oh, the light is so bright, and then being like, shit.
It didn't fucking work. This sucks.
So whatever happens during that time, they give me so much, like whatever medication they gave me, that it now knocks me out for like 12 hours. I don't come to again. Ooh. I think I don't come to again until about like 6 or 7 o'clock that night. Okay. Mm-hmm. Except that I definitely did, apparently, at some point, because our good friend Knuckles was the one who came to take me home at the end of all of it. He switched off with my ex. Sometime throughout the day, she took me. He brought me home.
18 hours for you to become unconscious.
Right. Well, and at the time, Knuckles and I literally lived like if my door, I don't know where all my stuff is. If my door is like here, right to my apartment, Knuckles' door is right here. Like we are as neighbor as you can be, and we would constantly just like float between the two apartments. It was great. But I wish he was here or in chat right now, because some of the stories that he was telling me about him trying to get me from the dentist office back to his apartment are amazing. Like he apparently I went into Meijer to pick up our prescription or my prescription medication with him, and he was constantly having to be like, oh no, because I'd be about to like fall over. And just like I was a flight risk, I kept walking away trying to see things. Why would
he take you in with him? Just like, he cannot be out of my sight.
I think he was worried that if he left me, that I would get out of the car and leave.
Yes, I agree. I would also be worried about that.
I don't remember a whole lot of his stories, but I remember laughing hysterically at all the shit that he tells me that he's doing. So I start coming to later in the afternoon, and bless her soul, Knuckles' wife, Julie, comes over, and I kind of come to, and there was a couple times where I kind of picked my head up and I'm like, this isn't where I remember being the last time, because I kind of after waking up a few times, I kind of put together that I was at Knuckles' place. But apparently when I left, they had put a bunch of gauze in my mouth to soak up the blood, right? Because they're like, he's probably gonna be bleeding for a while. We had a pretty good surgery, and Knuckles brought me home and just hucked me on his couch, and was like, yeah, he'll be fine over there. And apparently in my coming in and out, I would like come to a little bit and be like, oh God, what's in my mouth? And I would just like grab the gauze and just throw it or like spit it out on the ground. And so poor Knuckles would have to come over and try to shove new gauze in my mouth. Like, no. You get back in there. And I finally come to around 6, 7 o'clock at night the first time. Maybe it was like 8 actually, honestly. And Julie's like telling me all of this. She's like, oh yeah, we were having trouble keeping the gauze in your mouth, and you got a little bit of blood in the pillow, but it's totally fine. It's in the washer. It's going to make it. And she's telling me all this stuff, trying to be nice. Knuckles is standing right behind her, just going, just shaking his head. Like, no, everything that she's telling you is a lie. That pillow is gone forever. You bled all over it. You've ruined our couch pillow. And so I'm like, that's weird. And I start to stand up, and they're like, hey, no, go slow. Like doctor said, like you got to be real careful about like getting up and walking around
standing up
because
some of us are natural born surgery walkers. 100%.
Well, they said they put a lot of meds in you today. So we got to be careful. And I was like, this sign can't stop me because I can't read. I'll be fine. So I get up and march my ass down to the bathroom. I get in, close the door. I pull my pants down a little bit and start to use the facilities. And then I wake up because I've passed the fuck out immediately upon standing. And I wake up again. I'd like to remind you, I've been dating this poor girl for maybe like 2 days. And I wake up to her knocking on the door because obviously she heard me fucking pass out and hit the ground hard, full, completely dead weight. And she's like, "You need me to come in?" And I'm like waking up groggy, and my junk is out everywhere. I've created a mess in front of me, and I'm like, "No, you don't need to come in here. Everything's fine. I'm fine. Nothing happened. Why? Did something weird? Did you guys hear something out there? Because everything's totally normal in here." So we'll have to get Knuckles on sometime to tell his half of that story, because I remember it being astounding. Oh my God. Rough. So all of that to say, my constitution score is absolutely silly, and that's why I don't drink. Because it takes entirely too much alcohol to get me drunk for it to be any amount of worth my time.
So here's a question for you as a person who used to not drink for a very long time.
Yeah.
I would like you to describe the taste of like whatever the standard unit of alcohol is, whether that's like beer or spirits or whatever you in particular are into. Then why do you in particular do it?
No, so the thing that I specifically enjoy about it, and I cannot speak to the masses because I don't understand other people's drinking habits at all. What I appreciate about it is that when a lot of alcohol just kind of doesn't taste very good, to be completely honest with you.
Fair.
But there are enough diamonds in the rough that it becomes very fun to simply just try things. So for me, it's not necessarily about drinking the alcohol, but like I learned early on that one of the alcoholic beverages I like is hard cider. So like genuinely like Blake's apple cider, right? Or what's the popular one? Angry Orchard. That's the popular one that's out in the store.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing. And some of them are actually genuinely phenomenally good. Like they find a way to work around the alcohol, and a lot of them for me are like the fruit ciders. Like my favorite one is called Blake's Triple Jam. It's from an orchard up in Michigan, and it's like a blackberry, raspberry, and blueberry, I think, like concoction plus cider plus alcohol. I could drink that shit all day if I was left unattended. It's just good. And so because when you find those ones, you start to learn about like what kinds of alcohol that you like, and then it just becomes fun to be like, oh, I'm out, and this place has like some random craft cider from a place local that I've never heard of. Yeah, I'd like to try that. Just kind of a fun thing. Or like, you know, sometimes for like celebration, like Beans will get like a bottle of wine or something, and it's like, oh yeah, I'll have a glass of wine with you. Like we'll celebrate. It's a special occasion, but I wouldn't just like go drink wine on a Tuesday night because I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of it becomes a fun thing to like kind of find your preferences, and it's something social to do. Like that's what it is for me.
Trying new things and being social. You're not quite hitting the Logan Hornstein Venn diagram on that one.
Hey, it's I gotta find something that I can do.
Yeah, stuff. I'm still kind of sad Game of Thrones ended, because that was like the one thing I watched when everyone else watched. So it's like, all right, a neutral setting. There's about an 80% chance I can talk about Game of Thrones and have the small talk dialogue that adults have. And since that went away, it's like, well, I don't watch anything else because I'm a boring chump.
You guys watch Survivor? Holy shit, man. Jabroni, what was he earlier?
What?
The guy in this season? Fuck. Cut that.
Oh,
Cut that.
Jalinsky.
Jalinsky.
I believe his last name was Jalinsky. Yeah.
Well,
it's tough.
We're sitting at about an hour, and boy howdy, has this not gone the way that I anticipated at all. There's
perfect.
No, listen, I'm not mad about anything that we did today. There was just I literally titled this episode before we had it, didn't get to the title at all. So, we're going to fix that. But, this would not be an episode of Hardly Serious. And I think you all would agree if I didn't bring a headline. So I do have one. I do have one for you guys if we want to do that before we go.
I'm partially about it.
This one's a phrase, by the way. Not one word. I'm gonna tell you that ahead of time.
Okay.
California man arrested.
This is me actually.
For allegedly blank.
Is the blank just one word? Or
No.
Is it multiple
He
words?
just said it was a phrase, you idiot.
It's many.
Oh,
many
I thought he
words.
meant the headline was a phrase.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, your blank is a phrase. It's multiple
I don't know what
words.
he meant.
Did you expect the headline to be a single word?
Well, I expected the headline to be like
Here's the headline: California.
Dot blank.
Yeah.
I
Whoa.
don't fucking know.
I've heard of that place.
Oh yeah, so
Did you wanna repeat the
California
headline?
man arrested for allegedly blank. Oh, sorry.
Allegedly.
I'll give you one more word. I'll give you one more word
I love
actually.
Ooh.
California man arrested for allegedly taking blank.
Is it still a phrase?
Yeah.
Is it now a single word?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's several words.
California man arrested for allegedly taking money in the bank away from the rightful winner, Jacob Hornstein, and all of his fucking candy ass jabronis better watch the fuck out because Jacob's about to put the fucking people's elbow smack down on him. It's a long headline. They're really using the inverted triangle journalism style.
I have definitely been sitting here for the last 5 minutes trying to figure out where I could fit in Rudy Poo candy ass. And I was trying to find it. I really was. All right, so something about Jacob giving the people's elbow. All right, what do you got, Little Fudge?
California man arrested for allegedly taking candy from a baby. So you hear it all the time, like, oh, it's like taking candy from a baby. And this guy's like, how tough would that be? So he just started and of course, you need a large enough sample size to draw a conclusion. What if he just stole from a really incompetent baby? What if the baby had a grip like a steel vice? So you gotta, go
really
around.
incompetent baby.
Maybe the baby's like, I don't care about candy. I'm holding on to something else real hard.
Gotta fucking get that pee up, baby.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
So unsurprisingly, neither one of you is correct. But I am going to award points because I am just a fan of calling out jabronis and laying the smackdown on Rudy Poo candy asses. Woo! After they've gone down Jabroni Drive and checked into the Smackdown Hotel. I'm all for it, right?
No doubt.
So I'm gonna give points to Jacob. But
I thought you were gonna give points to Logan.
The bait and switch.
I'll take it. I'll take the money.
But so you're both wrong. So the headline that I will leave you with is this: California man arrested for allegedly taking leg of a person from train. That's all that's serious, everybody. Thanks for coming. I don't want to read the article for this one. I'm not going to do it, so I'm glad we saved it for the end. I've been Kenway. This has been Hardly Serious, episode 49. Do you have any final thoughts for our lovely audience, my friends?
Drink Big Red.
Hey, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time, I hope. Or not. I don't know. Season 3, episode 1. Go follow us on podcast apps of your choice.